Good morning, good evening. My pause was intentional. This week, I have been learning about how beginning a conversation with nonverbal cues is part of storytelling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 360-degree brand story, where brands come alive one brushstroke at a time. We have this conversation on a bi-weekly basis to enable us open up our minds to the possibilities of what storytelling can do in our lives. Storytelling is communication. Those who are older than us passed life's lessons through stories. I have never understood why they couldn't tell us directly. Maybe they wanted to make our lives more interesting. I think so. I'm not so sure. But anyway, it's okay. We are here now. I am Joe Mukoko, your host for the show. This show is proudly sponsored and hosted by Akiko Stories, part of the Afrikan MSME collective. And on the hot black seat this December is our very own communication champion, guru. I am looking for the right word, but anyway, we are here. So we're going to run. We're going to run the show. We're going to talk. It's been a good year. We've seen brands come, brands go. We've seen brands elevated, brands. What's the opposite of elevate? They've also come down, but we keep running. So before I continue with my many stories, let's hear her voice. She's Subire. Over to you.
Hi, how are you? As always, you're just making me happy. Where do you want us to start today?
You were to say something. And please don't say something, as in just like a story.
You know me
What
too
was the
well.
exciting thing? Yes, I knew you were going to give me a concise answer and then sit back like this and pause. So what was exciting about last week?
You know how we always say it's important to just go into spaces and listen. I had an amazing opportunity to now test that. Not really test it again. Let me use that one. Test it again. And I was part of a very interesting event about coffee and cocoa. So a collaboration between Kenya and Ghana. Excellent learnings. And the most interesting part is in the middle of a conference in a hotel room, we were able to do a coffee tasting. The full process so we would experience the process from when they harvest the cherry and the stages of how they get dry it. And so we felt the cherry, we felt the dry one, and then now we had the whole um, experience of adding water to coffee and how to degas it and how to remove the bubbles and then how to taste it and savor the taste. That was really interesting. And it was interesting for me because my grandfather grew coffee. My mother was educated on the proceeds from coffee. So it was a very good experience.
Thank you. Your grandfather, the one who was a trader, was your great grandfather?
So the son of the trader, my
Or he
great
was the son of
grandfather
a
was the
trader?
trader.
The one who moved from Mombasa to the
And
border.
he did Ukambani down to Mombasa and back and around Central.
Thank you. That is the power of storytelling. I liked how you have introduced our conversation today because the brand was able to take you through a process using storytelling techniques.
Absolutely.
Introduction, body, conclusion with a call to action. Have you been converted to drinking that particular brand of coffee?
No, but how I drink coffee has changed, will change, consistently change. Because then, like right after them, we had a professional barista come and tell us how to make our coffee, what to do, what not to do. You just need to follow me online. I'll be putting up an article about it in the next few days. So just look for AMC, African MSME Collective, and also Jesuvere, and you will have to figure out where the article will show up. A little
All right.
suspense.
I like that. And that brings us into a conversation. You see how you're even excited and happy. They actually did a call to action and they won you over as a customer.
Given that I had stopped drinking coffee, that let me add that. So now I'm back. I'm like, I'm willing.
With
to drink.
chocolate or without chocolate?
I
know
it will
you
be
too
one of my
well.
options because I do black coffee a lot. I'll probably go back to black coffee like I used to do, and a black mocha. Some people say mocha is not mocha without milk, but when you get so now having learned that and then having gotten original cocoa, they don't even call it cocoa like us, they call it cocoa, original cocoa from Ghana. I will tell you when I try that mocha.
Good. I'll be waiting to hear. Fantastic. So thank you for being in this space today, and you have laid the ground for our discussions. The animated, excited look in you as you took us through the process. We were seeing it through your eyes, the dry bean, you call them what? Cherry, the dry cherry, the wet cherry, and everything, and the process. And the barista teaching you how to make a good cup of coffee. So this has been 2024. Interesting happenings. Some brands have grown, some brands have decreased in value. Some brands have been more vocal in what they're doing, and others have decreased their level of openness and storytelling out. What were the key winners in terms of not brands, but what were the trends you saw with storytelling that have enabled brands be able to differentiate themselves, be able to elevate their brands, and be able to remain relevant to their consumers?
So I'll make it 3 C's, right? I like 3s, 4s, 6s, but we'll do 3 today. The 3 things I have seen working essentially well, and especially even we've applied them on our brand, African MSME Collective, and on Akiko also, is the brands that grew were clear. So clarity was important, but clarity around what? One is clarity about your audience. Who are you talking to? What do they want? Where are they in terms of platforms, in terms of geographical location? What are they interested in? What platforms are they using? The clarity then is also around what content draws them in. Many of us, when we begin posting on our socials, on even our above the line and the below the line advertising, we are thinking about ourselves and not about the customer. We're thinking about what would work for us and not necessarily what would work for the customer. And you know the saying, cash is king? I like to say customer is king because I'm meeting a need. I'm answering a question. I'm solving a problem for a very specific audience. So the companies and the individuals who are absolutely clear about who they're serving, what problem they're solving, where they need the problem solved, and then going with that mindset and plan into the community, their communities, that worked. The other thing I saw that has now adds to clarity is the whole conversation of being concise. So let's say you're talking to a Gen Z, a Gen Alpha, who have a 15-second concentration span, and then you send them a 1,500 piece. They will never read, I guarantee you, unless it is part of a school assignment. But whether you're writing that or you're writing academic journals, that's why academic journals have the 300-word abstract, because you need to be concise enough to capture the full scheme of what is in that 200, 150, 50-page journal article or journal itself to draw the interest. So the capacity to say everything you need to say with as few words as possible was also a game changer. Again, because when people read, they scroll 1, 2, 3, they're done. So if it is not fully engaging in that first portion, they're not continuing. That's why you see newspapers always have some very sensational titles. Then you read, and the story and the headline, okay, they match, but they don't match with the weight of what the headline carries. So when you're clear about who you're serving, what their need is, where they are, all those things, and then you present for them whatever they need in a very precise format. So if it's a 30-second ad, are you mapping a process? How can you do it in 30 seconds? And the part about concise, I found it very interesting because now we began to see a lot of social media videos with hooks. 4 things I did. If I did not do this, I would not reach here. My life was flat until my coach taught me X. So that part was very concise, but the place some of them would lose people is you take us on a long-winded 20-minute journey before telling us what your product is and how we benefit. So what would happen on those kind of videos is that there's drop-off. The people who held their audience's attention were able to use a hook, grab in as short as possible, let you know what it is, and then lead you down a path. So you have my attention, okay. Comment prompt in the comment section. They comment, instantly you get a link with access to whatever it is you wanted, captioned by a video. So that it was brief. In some instances, it felt staccato. Staccato is very point. But what it was leading you down a path to growth, a path to stability, a path to something. Because they knew exactly what their audiences were looking at. I always tell this story of, I had a student a few years ago. And one of the things we do in class is we define our audience and then look for people in our phone list who are from that audience and then do an assessment on them. And her audience told her they want 3-minute videos on YouTube. She's video averse. So she never did it. So you can imagine it's taken her double the time to grow an audience that she could have grown very quickly. Another client of mine, we'd been talking about doing videos, and one day she just did a video on her phone. She did, I think, 3 or 4 of those ones in a period of 3 months, and we doubled her follower reach, doubled. So it's things like that that begin to let us know whether we're connecting with our audiences or not. And then the third C is consistent. Are you consistent? And like I said to you earlier, choose your hard. If your consistent is once a week, let it be that once a week on that day at that time, something goes up. For instance, our consistent is Tuesday mornings, 8:30. Every Tuesday morning, 8:30 on our YouTube channel, a video goes up. A video is launched, a video is premiered, we host a conversation. Why is that important? In fact, it was very interesting. The last time I put up a video, within 3.5 minutes, there were people on the page watching the video. Because now they know African MSME Collective shows up on Tuesday. If it's not 8:30, by 9, it's up. By 9, they're live or something like that. So those are the 3 things I have found that this year have made a difference. Being your clarity, you're concise, and you're consistent, because then people know they can count on you. Consistent also means that if somebody comes onto your feed and are asking questions about your product or your service that you don't like, because you deliver one service, one standard way, one product, one standard way, if there is a problem, you can apologize and make good for that person. Consistent, and really it's helped us as AMC, because remember, we do every Tuesday evening, we do a show. We do a class, actually. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m., we do a class. When we first launched the class at the end of Q3, we would be getting 5 or so signups. Now that it's consistent, and every Monday and Tuesday we're doing the publicity on it, our signups have grown from 5 to up to 45 with a 50% attendance. If we were not doing it consistently and having everybody in the team sharing and we're all, engaged, we wouldn't have those numbers in our ecosystem. What it's also done for us, it's grown our database, it's grown our reach. It's actually, and these shows have given us work. Somebody like would watch a show, they're like, these guys look like they could be good facilitators, and then they call and they give work. Why? Because of the consistent showing up and showing up prepared, showing up and giving people an excellent learning experience. So if you're clear, you're concise, and you're consistent, those are the three big things I have seen in 2024.
So be clear, be concise, be consistent. I want to take you back to where you talked about being concise. In this instance, your client, when she did an assessment, she did an assessment, their clients told them, we would like 3-minute videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if you did that assessment and then they tell you we want a 30-minute video?
You do
What
it.
happens?
You do a 30-minute video and then you can turn it into shorts, into clips, into everything. And then those things you do become the lead towards the main one. So if they want 30 minutes, they'll tell you maybe a 30-minute every 2 weeks. You do it. The reality is your audience will tell you what they want and what they don't want. Think about even the small shop in your locality, right? When you go back and you tell them, you keep bringing us bad quality milk, won't they look for other milk? Or look at the supermarket. Like, I love going to the supermarket to shop and especially the milk counters, and I'll tell you why. In the major retail chains, the discount and promotional milk is in the entryway, right? But if you go to the corner where they put the milk, you will always find a brand that is 5 to 10 shillings less than what they have at the door. They've already discounted what's at the door. So let's say they're selling at 62 shillings a packet, they'll discount it to 55. That's a discount, right? And the other one will come at 54, they'll be fighting, the big boys will be fighting there. In the supermarket near my place, I like to go to the corner. I will always find a packet of milk for 42 shillings, 44 shillings, because that is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a price savings, significant price savings. So what happens is the brand that's at 62 that's discounted to 55, they have a different, same company, lower quality lower fat content, not lower quality. So I don't want full cream. I want, 2.5% fat. I'm not a skim person. The 2.5% fat, every so often, it is down here at 51, 52. So even as the one at 55 is on sale, as the customer who's looking for milk at 50 or less, then I know where to go. And it's not a function of them telling me where to go. It's a function of my research and looking based on the need I have and the question I need answered. So the same applies to services. You have to be able to understand what your teams need, what your clients need, where they need to find you, and then you go and you deploy in those spaces.
Just repeat that again. There's something I missed. What your team needs,
what your clients need, where they want it,
whether they want it,
where they want it. And then you go into those spaces.
Now, that means when you engage in this exercise of understanding needs, expectations, and spaces, there's an investment.
Yes.
That happens. How then do we get to measure the value of that investment?
I like to look at ROI in reference to our 4 key matrices, okay? So first of all, when we went into the space, we had a definite plan. So what is it we wanted to get out of the space? Because that is what we're going to measure. Okay. So if all I wanted was followers, I can run ads just to get followers. If what I want is engage followers, then the followers come in and I'm doing activities that keep them engaged, keep them coming back, which means I'll either post every day 2 to 3 times a day, depending on what they want. So that's one matrix that's one metric we can track followers if it's our online spaces. The equivalent of followers in the physical spaces is how many people actually get to test our product. You've seen people in supermarkets where there's a new cheese and there's a merchandiser with little pieces of cheese and they're giving you this kawanta piece to taste. In fact, that's how I got hooked to my current favorite brand of cheese. Because I kept going to supermarkets and today they're testing halloumi, tomorrow they're testing feta. Then when they were testing cheddar, that end. And why is it? I like a cheese that is slightly tart. So all these other ones, they're good, but they don't fit my taste bud. And then I went to so this was in my local supermarket. And then I went to a different supermarket on the other side of the city on a Saturday, and they had a full spread of cheeses you will never see in the supermarket. And they're in that location because the clientele in that location are from the upper middle class, literally upper middle class to upper class. So there you found feta with rosemary, you found cheddar with chili, as in, I'm like, you guys make all these cheeses? They said, yes, but these are our specialty cheeses. But what they did over time is they took a cheese, which is a blend of the tart cheddar and another one, I forget which other one it is, and they call it everyday cheese. Because there are people who said that cheddar is too curly or too tart for them. And everyday cheese, there is no supermarket that doesn't have everyday cheese. But for my taste buds, it is boring, it is tasteless, I don't want it. So I now know who stocks the cheese. The same thing is if you know, like in Kenya, we've got the Kadogo economy. So there are things, I like the small packs of certain things, but I know the major chains don't carry them because the people who go to the major chains are not the Kadogo economy. So if I want that small pack, I know where in my hood I need to go or who I need to send because it's available in their hood. Same example in our communications. Where are the people we want to go and how do we get them? That's why if you listen to a lot of the adverts that we have for betting sites, what stations are they showing up? They're not on our major media houses very often. They may appear once, but on the local stations that get to the grassroots, they are there the whole morning. In fact, they sponsored the morning show. Okay, you will find them on certain like video channels on the internet because they have gone to where the demographic is. Now, when it shows up on my feed, I instantly say, not interested. Because I do not bet. I am not interested in betting. I have no intention of making you earn 20 cents because that thing flipped in front of me for 6 seconds. I'm not interested. So that's one of the metrics we measure: followers and engagement and connection. Sorry, followers. The next thing we measure is engagement. Engagement is how do they interact with us? So again, if we just go back, is the merchandiser in the supermarket friendly? So there is a brand that does frozen vegetables and frozen foods in Kenya. It's a local brand. I love them. There are several, but there's one in particular. This brand, the thing that drew me to the brand was a very warm and kind merchandiser. She was polite. She greeted me nicely. I'm a stickler for greeting people properly with respect and dignity. So she was all that on it was like a Thursday afternoon. I was really tired. I'd come from meetings and I was trying to figure out what is a quick meal. And she presented for me frozen vegetables. The, the one that's a mix of peas, carrots, that one. But the pack she had was big. I was like, but I've never tasted your stuff. I don't want a big pack. And she's like, okay, take the half-kilo pack. How many are you guys? I said, we're 3 in the family. She's like, okay, this should be enough because you're going to add it with. And she gave me options of what to serve it with. And then she turns and says, by the way, do you like traditional vegetables? I said, of course. All the people I know who had previously packed traditional vegetables, I didn't like. And she presents to me a pack of traditional vegetables, yes, in balls. So they've rolled them up into balls and they have said, by our estimation, because of how when you cook them, they'll expand, you need 2 balls per person in your family. So if you're a family of 3, this pack has 6 balls, the next pack has 9, like that. What eventually happened is I eventually ended up mentoring the owner of the business in one of the mentorship programs I was part of. And she said to me, when I explained my experience, like, oh, that was so and so. That's her superpower, connecting with people. She sees you, she reads you, she gives you what you want. So that's what the brand wants, engagement. I had no intention of buying frozen vegetables. I was purely looking for, frozen traditional vegetables. I was looking for the usual potatoes, peas, carrots. Do a quick stir fry with rice. We are done. Food is on the table. But that day I carried two different kinds of the traditional vegetables. I really liked them. So that's engagement because you have gained a follower because of how you've dealt with them. But the fact that I have actually sat there, discussed the product, that's engagement. Just how about the price? That's inquiry. I have put money on the table. That's a sale. The place so it's 4 things we measure: followers, engagement, inquiries, and the sales. And this last example I've zipped across the 3. The place we need to spend a lot more time is point number 1 and 2. Because by and large, from the point of engagement, I will either recommend you to somebody, which will lead to an inquiry and a sale, and possibly a sale. Or I could actually be the one to inquire about the price and buy. The tricky place for most of us is this part of sales. Now, remember we said storytelling goes through the whole company. The guard at your gate will tell us a lot about your company. If he's mean to me, it's likely you're mean to him and he's just passing it on. The person at the reception, good morning to you. Do you have potatoes? We does. It may not matter for the average person, but remember, we're talking about building global businesses. Okay? So that point of engagement becomes a critical part because that determines whether I drop off as your client or I move on to the inquiry. And then how you deal with the person in the inquiry stage, because if you go back to the example I've given, we talked back and forth. I'm like, oh, so she has leading questions. So how big is your family? We have tested it. So they have done the back end homework. Because when I sat with the owner, I asked her, have you actually tested? She's like, yeah, we know everybody eats 2 bowls per person. So there's a tested system that helps answer the inquiries. And that is where you will either have the person drop off or they will purchase. And you need to have purchase sizes small enough for people to come in and test. And then realize, even better. So that's where, the whole thing of you give something free, you give a freemium, and then a fair priced option, and then you move guys to premium. But sometimes in that inquiry stage, you can say I'm premium. So don't give me fair priced, because you give me fair price, I might walk away. So make the shift to premium. So really those are the metrics we can measure. Have we gained followers? How is our engagement? And engagement, you define it based on your industry. Engagement turns into inquiries. Inquiries turns into sales. A sale is only complete when money is in the bank. Until the money moves from my wallet to yours, it's an inquiry. When I put my money down, it's a sale. And then now the last one we can come back and add, which would be number 5, is how many resales do we have? So I bought that vegetable once. Did that become a consistent thing in my kitchen? Is that something I picked regularly? So to finish on that particular part, now my son has become a proponent because we were in the supermarket maybe last week or the week before, and they were looking at frozen foods, and he says, no, don't look at those ones. Mommy knows these ones. These ones are good people. In fact, she mentored the owner. So now my family, if they're going to buy frozen food, they go to that particular brand because mommy is an ardent user of that brand. So then that's the resale. Resales and referrals then is, and we rinse and repeat the cycle. Back to you.
Wow. Followers, engagement, inquiries, sales, and resales. Powerful.
Thank
And
you.
when you're doing all this, you have to be clear, concise, and consistent.
Yes.
There's something you talked about that I picked and I found very interesting. And I would just like you to give our audience maybe two tips, not many. So that then they need to engage you for you to become their ardent follower. You talked about teams and teams, especially when it comes to engagement. What are 3 things that we can do for our teams to enhance our engagement? Because engagement is part of our measurement process. And from engagement, we will either win or lose. What 3 things can you advise entrepreneurs to do or business owners to do? Just 3, not many, or even 2. I want them to pay you so then you can become their ardent follower.
I think 3 things we can do for our teams to facilitate their success. I'll go with 3 E's.
Or maybe 2.
Today is the
3
day of
is.
3s. So
You're
I'll
being
give you
generous.
3
Okay,
E's.
3 is. Okay.
1 is envision. We know as the business owners what we're doing. We know why we're doing it. We know how we got into the industry. But do your teams understand all that as intimately as you do? Your sales team, your marketing team, your front desk all need to understand why the business exists. It exists to answer a problem. We do not exist to make money. We do not exist to make money. We exist to consistently answer problems because we get paid for solving problems. We don't get paid for putting things in the shop. We get paid for problems, solving problems. That's why there is a market for just about anything. So we know the natural foods market is very expensive. The products are expensive. But if you go to the street corner in the informal settlements, there's somebody there selling something that inasaidianga watu, you know. This helps somebody. You'll have somebody with a mhobero stick. You'll have somebody making porridge with mhobero. Joe can explain to us what mhobero is. It is a herb from his village, or at least the environs of where he comes from. So you see, there's that need for all of that, but do your teams understand? Because when your teams understand, back to my frozen food example, they represent you on the ground. So do they understand why you exist? Do they have the skill to effectively share it? So that is educate. So number 1 is envision. Number 2 is educate. Rigorously train your team. I visited a finishing shop with interior tiles and finishes. And what was amazing for me was to watch the cleaning lady trying to sell tiles. And she told her colleagues, just teach me. So the owner asked them, has she been put through the kind of training we put you guys through? No. So why do you have her on the shop floor alone? So you envision them to why you exist, to the point that they can speak your language, and then you educate them. Ensure it is reading materials, it is conversations. And part of education is having an open door policy so they can come and ask you questions. And then you evaluate. Evaluate is assessing their skills on the ground, but also assessing the information they give back. So if you have somebody who's consistently talking to clients and not closing a sale, yeah, sit down and the word in my brain is chambua. Sit down and research and dig through that and figure out why they are not able to close. If you have somebody on the ground who every customer they talk to, even if not today, they will always close. Find their tools, find their tips, find their tricks, share them with the rest of the team. When you envision, educate, and evaluate, it means you're consistently moving at the same pace with your team, and then they will begin to outstrip you. So you as the business owner needs to consistently up your game. So to draw our teams, we envision, educate, and evaluate. Rinse and repeat every day of the business life.
Vision, educate, evaluate, rinse and repeat. Where? In all the responses, you've talked about consistency, and consistency is big, consistency is key. Consistency gives you the cadence to be able to break through. Chesubire. Twalitwala, Greg. Let me not say the other one. The other one is for the people in the office only. What's your parting shot? I was about to say your final words of wisdom, then I remembered, oh no, we still have like another 10,000 hours to go of shows. What's your parting shot?
The thing we must understand is communications and indeed storytelling must become as natural as breathing. It must become as natural as breathing. And if you're struggling with it, you practice, you practice, you practice. One of the things I do very often is stand in front of a mirror when I'm preparing to go and speak my words into the mirror. So I can see my expressions, I can see my gestures, I can see whether I'm confident or not. So it must become as natural as breathing. Don't let anybody tell you that storytelling and communications is the preserve of the communications people. Those guys, us guys, just have a natural love for communicating and structuring those things. But if you are to sell anything worth your salt, you must learn to communicate. There is no other option. So work at it diligently. It may not come to you naturally, but it must become as natural as breathing. It's like a footballer on the pitch. They need to be able to receive the ball from any direction. So whether they have overestimated and they need to dash back and do a back kick, what they have done during practice is experimented with all these moves. And we know Joe is a stronger striker and his left side is stronger. And the team is always going to try and get the ball in a position coming from the right so that Joe just hits it right with his left foot. But in the instance that the ball gets to Joe when his right foot is forward, does he have the internal skill to, even if it won't be the strongest shot, to use his left leg to strike? He has to have the capacity, even as we know his left side is stronger. That's why I say it must become as natural as breathing. which means then you must know your product or service so intimately that if we wake you up at 2 a.m. and ask you, what do you sell? You will be able to tell us. Now, employees and teams, this is not the preserve of your boss. This is needed for every team player. And then also because it is natural as breathing, you can tell where your weak spots are in, so call in help. If I'm struggling to close a deal and I know Joe is the closer, I always need to ensure that somewhere at the point of the conversation, I have drawn him in and I'm sitting at his feet to learn, because he won't always be there to close. So it must become as natural as breathing. And if you're stuck, get help. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Chitsupi. Allow us to. This is the audience. On behalf of all the audience, thank you. Thank you. Consistency is key. So, ladies and gentlemen, be clear, be concise, be consistent. It helps you break those barriers when you're coming to look for followers, engagements, inquiries, sales, and resales. Consistency. And so that you don't leave people behind, work with your team. Share the vision with them. Educate them. Evaluate. As you iterate, you become more consistent. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This has been the 360-degree brand story episode. Please look out for the next episode. Please look out for the next episode. As we bring the year to a close, and allow me to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whichever you choose or whatever you subscribe to. But remember, we shall be here to tell you the stories. We're just telling you Merry Christmas early. We are starting. We are starting it for you. You've said consistency, so every week we'll tell you Merry Christmas. So thank you very much. My parting shot to you is this. Communication and storytelling should be as natural as breathing. Told by our very own storytelling guru. Have a good evening. Have a good afternoon. Have a good day. Au revoir. Kwaheri. I was about to say it in my native language, but it is okay. We shall use it another time. Have a good one. And see you again. Remember, communication and storytelling should be as natural as breathing. Thank you. Bye-bye.